Hello, class. We are picking up with Sophia's War today, and I just wanted to back us up a little bit because we had ended on chapter 7, and we had talked about how Sophia had to go out into the streets to go find help for her father. She was actually searching for the doctor's house, remember? And she wore the red ribbon on her jacket because the red ribbon would be an indication that she was for the British side. And we talked about that was a lie, wasn't it? We said that she's really for becoming an American and becoming independent and everything, but it would have put her in great danger had the soldiers seen her. They would have captured her and put her in prison or possibly even put her to death if they thought that she was either a spy or that if she were for the if she were for the Americans, because these were British soldiers. Remember, they were wondering where William was also because he had not returned home, and they were thinking that either he had been killed or put into prison. So we had finished with chapter 7, and we are on chapter 8, which begins with page 37. Upon reaching our door, I turned toward the soldiers. "Thank you, sirs," I said. One touched a finger to his busby. "Happy to help you, be helpful, miss." A busby is a hat. And they went off. Allowing myself a moment to breathe, I watched them go. I had to admit that they had been kind. The doctor entered our dim house. I followed, shutting the door behind me. "Good morning to you, madam," said the doctor. "Thank you for coming," Mother returned in a hushed voice, her eyes bright with tears. "Mr. Calderwood is in the back room. Did my daughter tell you?" "She did, madam. A lodged musket ball." He held up his box. "My instruments. Bring me a candle." Mother said, "Sophia, stay here." She led the doctor away, while I sat before the hearth. The low flickering flames caused shadows to gambol all about me. Trembling, I drew my cloak tight. From the back room I began to hear muffled voices. First Mother's, then Father's faintly, then finally the doctor's. I strained to listen. When Father moaned, I pressed my hands together so tightly they ached. Quite resumed, all I could do was wait. William was still missing. Father was wounded. Mother was in tears. Before my eyes the image of that hanging. I began to shiver uncontrollably. "Sophia," I scolded myself, "be brave, be brave." I whispered the Lord's Prayer. I said the first few sentences of our declaration, which William had insisted I learn. "We hold these truths. Be strong," I tell myself over and over again. The back room door opened. The doctor emerged, looking more disheveled than before. Bloodstains soiled his shirt. Mother, looking wan, followed. "Keep him abed," the doctor advised her. "I shall look in later. I wish you a good day, madam." "The like to you," she said. I hurried to open the door. The doctor gave me a nod and left. I shut the door and turned to Mother. She was holding her hands to her eyes. I said, "Is he all right?" "He should be." She held out her hand. In the palm of it lay a musket ball. It was bloody. "He'll need time to heal. I don't know what use of his arm or hand he'll have." You know, his Sophia's father, remember, his job is that of a scrivener, which means he writes a lot of important documents. And so if he doesn't have use of his hand or arm, he probably won't have a job. I peeked into the back room. Father lay abed, eyes closed, hands resting on the blood-stained coverlet. He appeared to sleep. I retreated. In the common room, Mother was sitting in the chair, slumped over. "Can I do anything?" I said. "You fetch the doctor." "Soldiers stopped me along the way, Mother." "What did you say?" "I lied." Her glance showed approval. "It is hard." I said, "At least we'll not lose the house." "The British officer has yet to come," she said. We sat side by side, not speaking. At length Mother stood up. "We just can't sit like this." She raked up the fire and set Indian corn to boil in the pot. "Sometime this morning," she told me, "you must see if Mr. Gain or Mr. Rivington are about." As I have explained, Father worked for these newspaper printers. I had been to their shops with Father many times and had taken messages back and forth, so I knew his employees fairly well, as they knew me. Mother said, "You tell them he's in the city." "But can he work?" "He needs the pay. Since the work is unusually done here, you can help him. I'm glad William taught you to read." I nodded. Mother was silent for a while. Then she said, "Things are so topsy-turvy, I'm not sure the printers will even be here. Shall I tell them what happened to him?" "I don't know what side they're on." I thought for a moment and then said, "Mother, who am I to trust?" She considered my question. "Me, Father," and then she answered, "and William if he ever returns." The word "if" rang as loudly as a fireball. All right, so let's stop for a moment and talk about this chapter really quick. Okay, so Sophia had come back with the doctor who removed the musket ball, which is the bullet, from Father's arm, leaving him pretty much helpless right now. He's still very sick. You got to remember, back in those days, they didn't have the good pain medicines like we do today to help with the pain. And also, infection can set in really quickly back in those days because they didn't have the antibiotics and medicines that we had to treat things like that. Um, Also, Sophia had to confess to her mother that she had been lying to the soldiers, which, sometimes lies may be necessary to protect you and your family. And Mother was okay with that. Have you thought about why Mother calls her own husband Mr. Calderwood rather than husband? Back in those days, oftentimes husbands and wives, when they were speaking directly to visitors, they referred to each other by their name as Mr. and Mrs. It was a sign of respect, and also it was just a way of saying, "Hey, this is who I'm married to." Let's see. Also, during this time, Sophia had asked about, or Mother had said that she was going to have to go to Mr. Gain or Mr. Rivington. Those were Mr. Calderwood's bosses, basically. They would give them assignments and he would go home and type things or write things up for them for their pamphlets. But remember, they don't know which side they're on either. Are they loyalist or are they for the Americans? Okay, so we have to ask ourselves that. And that's why Mother told Sophia that, the only people she can trust is her father, herself, and William. So, all right, let's go on to the next chapter in just a moment.